Welcome to the Information Security Forum podcast. I'm your host, Tavia Gilbert, and today's episode is the second of two conversations featuring ISF Managing Director Steve Durbin with Ondrej Krehel.
So extortion is going to be next level. Basically, to take down an individual today, it's a $500 deal. Mm-hmm. Each of us at the table here.
That's it?
That's it. Pay $500 and you're dead. Digital debt. That's not a lot of money.
Today, we'll be speaking with Ondrej about the threat horizon, including attacks from nation-states, and where American companies and individuals are particularly threatened.
What are the sort of current trends you're seeing in terms of the kinds of attacks? You mentioned there, differentiating between nation state versus somebody who's just got lucky, I suppose, because they've been playing around at it. Are we seeing an escalation in the degree of sophisticated attacks that are out there?
Probably the most deadliest type of attacks right now are the implants, like memory implants. You can think of them as viruses that alter your DNA. They're very deadly. And what really happened on the cyber market is that we unleashed between the superpowers this cyber warfare, and you had a shadow broker basically releasing the toolkits, showing the people how to create this. It's almost not different than maybe 10 years ago. You could go on websites and find like how to do explosives, right? Mm-hmm. And we got better at it to remove those sites. But now that cyber warfare knowledge, how to conduct properly cyber warfare against the individual, is so high, and you can get so it's almost like we walk outside right now, and across from your building is a free AK-47 that you can just take with the bullets and kill anyone. Mm-hmm. And that's what really happened in a cyberspace. Like the cyberspace is full of these release of tools and toolkits ready to basically cyber kill almost anyone. And it creates this momentum where the younger generation is basically thinking like, why would I ever go to work?
Right.
We had one of the blogs, if you go to our site, if you recall, and maybe you covered, it was the email where they said they have some stuff on you and there's a camera involved, and we know you're watching this adult content. So in the first week, that scam produced, just from the wallets that we were able to track, $300,000.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? How quickly can you make, by sending an email, to make $300,000? There's no arrest for those individuals, and never going to be, by the way, because they don't even reach the threshold. Right? It's just a pure lack of... It's not even extortion. It's just like you sending a few emails and tell people to pay. It's a scam.
If I remember correctly, I got one of those. I think they wanted, I forget how much it was now, but it was Bitcoin they were after, of course.
Would you know how much? Or
I think it was about 10 Bitcoin they were after. It went after very much. It was relatively small. It was interesting. I did get that email. And
did you pay?
Of course.
Just as an insurance policy?
Just for fun.
I looked at it on my mobile phone, and you read through the email and it says, we're watching you and everything. You know full well they can't be, because and I think it referred to some browsers they claimed I'd been using that actually I don't use. And so again, I think being in the industry, you tend to be very analytical about reading some of these things,
of course.
And you can evaluate fairly quickly whether or not it's just a general scam. But no, it's always interesting, I think, to get that kind of thing. It's fun just to see what's out there and what's circulating. But $300,000, it's not a bad business, is it?
No, it's definitely not. And that's from the IDs that we track. So you can go to our blog, and actually we list all the Bitcoin wallets, and you can come with the same number. Imagine that probably the number might be 2-3 times higher, right? Mm-hmm. So someone make in 1 week 1 million out of nothing. So extortion is going to be next level for everyone. And the thing another blog we publish is that basically to take down an individual today, it's a $500 deal. Mm-hmm. Each of us at the table here.
That's it?
That's it. Pay $500 and you're dead. Digital debt. That's not a lot of money.
No, it's not.
Right? I mean, you would think that these things are more expensive, but apparently they're not.
That's amazing.
And we posted what would be cost, like how much is DDoS, how much. And I'm not saying we have the best price list, right? There's some people who are cheaper, some people who are more expensive. Yeah. But it's kind of like an average market price.
Yeah, it's not very much at all, is it? If we move into that sort of nation-state type environment, though, what are the sorts of things that you're seeing there in terms of some of those bigger attacks on large-scale enterprises?
So one of them we did was covered also by Bureau and DHS, and I believe it's also listed. We did a case study. It was the Cloud Hopper operation, APT-10, of the nation-state threat actor out of the Asia. I would say that the threat actors in nation-state are heavily focusing on intellectual property and how to basically possess that intellectual property. That's one group.
Right.
The Eastern Bloc, it's more about chaos and can I do it? Mm-hmm. Give an example, I think the General Korobov and some of the unofficial meetings mentioned that by 2020, every American's going to be digitally naked on internet. Meaning you can buy data set. By the way, you can buy my data set too. I think it's now $75. And I don't mind as long as my credit goes up. When people buy it and goes down, I get offended by it. Yeah, it's like take it personal. I have to take actions. But if it goes up, I don't mind. Right? So the nation state divided between the chaos, that's Eastern Bloc, and just pure I can, right? Why not? I can. Versus intellectual property game where you do it and I steal it. When I came to this country 20 years ago, there was a very interesting individual. I believe she was a professor at Yale University. And she wrote a book 20 years ago about superpowers. And I was fascinated by this, right? Because I was very young and America's superpower. And so what really defines the superpower, right? Rome and the superpowers. And I very quickly realized that Americans really, what they have is intellectual property. What they resell. They don't resell fork and knives anymore. They can't make any cars anymore, right? What they resell is this patent and knowledge. And she predicted in that book that the superpowers can be taken down by dismantling that intellectual property. So the only way to can compete with America right now are two, right? Block the resources coming in, the brains coming in, developing that intellectual property that's feeding the economy, and second, steal it. And I would say that's the number one mission of any country that wants to compete with the United States.
Steal the information.
That is correct.
So against that sort of backdrop, how do you see the challenge for the Chief Information Security Officer?
Sure, the recognition is there, and I've been a CISO for a while. I would say there are two sides of the game, right? One is that as technologists, we need to create human-readable format for board and CEO to understand what is really our mission, what is our vision for the security, and how can we really execute it. And it can't be just a numbers game. It's almost like I'm only giving you 100 troops, and I'm asking you to do a very special operation mission inside of the country. So it's not just about, I'm giving you the resources and the budget, but I'm asking you to do some mission, something different, something more unique for that specific organization. And it's like a house, right? Every house is different, right? So how do you really live inside of that house? How do you create a harmony inside of that house? So the CISO, one of the roles of the CISOs do have is really create that environment, that ecosystem between the executives, managers, directors, and the individuals who do conduct those technical operations, right? Create that harmony. Right? So you have to create ecosystems that everyone understands that mission. And second thing is really go to the board and ask, okay, so these are my requirements. This is what I think where we are, right? Honestly, in every component, endpoint protection, right? Where you really are. What kind of funding do you really need to have that mission? What is the residual risk that you're not going to be able to cover because you just can't have a budget to cover everything? What's going to be at risk? What's not? What are the risk mitigation factors? And come up with a strategy for enterprise. So when something actually happens, you go to CEO says, listen, so this is how we've done it. We all agreed we're going to be doing this. We're not going to be doing this because that's expensive. Now the problem happened. Right, we have mitigation factor. This company is going to come in. This is going to be paid out of insurance or whatever, right? And this is how we're going to operate right now, and explain that. So no one is really surprised that, okay, what is really happening and how it happened. And as long as that CISO have that vision, I think it can be successful. And the challenge might be that culture, a lot of these organizations, you might have a clash with the board or CEO. And I remember when I was in that role, and what I understand today is that you have to understand that business supports you. Right. And CISO is there to support that business. And there is a probability to a breach at that moment. Sure, it might happen over the time, bigger or smaller. But the CISO needs to understand that if that business is not there, and if the CISO is creating any complications to the business, competitors are going to take over because they have much better lean team and they know how to do more transparently the security, right? So definitely CISO cannot create any barriers to the business. And that's a challenging factor, right? Because there are some restrictions that you need to do as a CISO, right? I have to now, for example, implement two-factor authentication on everyone's phone, right? So can I do it by tokens, by push, right? So maybe I just can do the push, right? So everyone just clicks, right, instead of typing the tokens. And I'm not decreasing productivity at that point because just that one click. So you have to be very smart. You have to have a good vision. Like how can you bring that security in a transparent way to actually enable business to be better, not worse. If it goes worse, then you probably need to update the resume and move on.
And you're also, of course, preparing the organization for the day when the breach happens, and you have to pick up the phone and call people like you.
Yeah, it's like anything else. I remember one of the individuals was federal agent. I recall I enjoyed truly sitting with him in a car. It was on a high-profile cases in a city. And he was looking at my phone. And my phone has thousands of contacts. And he asked me, so do you know these people? I said, well, at some point, marketing team put some people in it. And he has this flip-flop Motorola. And he has 30 people. And he told me, very distinguished sentence, I divide people in two categories, right? The federal agents are sometimes black and white. Mm-hmm. People that I can count on and anyone else. In my address book, if I call that individual, he picks it up and he asks me, how can I help you?
Right. And you want to be in that address book?
Definitely. I want to be known as that person.
I have a lot of culling of contacts to do.
Ondrej, thanks very much indeed for sharing some of those insights.
That was the last of our two-part conversation with Ondrej Krehel, CEO and founder of LIFARS LLC. If you missed the first episode, where we talk with Ondrej about how his company helps businesses and individuals respond to a breach, be sure to go back and listen. And we want to hear from you. So if there's somebody you'd like us to speak with, a topic you'd like us to cover, please get in touch through our website at securityforum.org or send us a tweet. Our handle is securityforum as well. We look forward to hearing from you.